In a world already trembling under the weight of uncertainty, a shadow looms over South Asia. Whispers grow louder, headlines turn sharper, and behind closed doors, decisions are being made that could alter the course of history. The question now hangs in the air like a storm cloud, ready to break. Is war between India and Pakistan imminent? And if so, what secret is so dangerous that it could set the entire region ablaze? The truth, my friends, is never buried forever. No matter how deep it is pushed into the shadows, no matter how carefully it is covered, it always finds a way to rise, clawing through layers of deception and silence. And in moments like this, when the air feels heavy with anticipation, when even the most casual conversations are tinged with tension, you can almost hear that truth knocking, demanding to be heard. For weeks now, whispers have been traveling faster than official statements. Reports, some confirmed, others denied, have emerged of unusual troop movements near critical points along the India-Pakistan border. Satellite images, shared discreetly among select journalists and analysts, hint at preparations that cannot simply be explained away as routine exercises. And then there are the communications, encrypted, rushed, and often cut short, that have been intercepted by intelligence agencies. These are not the kinds of signs you ignore. In the corridors of power, the smallest shift in military posture, the faintest tremor in diplomatic relations, can be like the first tremor before an earthquake. And yet, officials remain silent. Press briefings are vague. Public addresses avoid specifics. And all we are left with is speculation. Speculation that grows more dangerous with every passing day. Because when silence stretches too long, it does not calm fears. It fuels them. History has shown us that when the world's leaders speak less, the stakes are often much higher than anyone dares to admit. It is in such silences that power brokers work, making decisions that could change the fate of millions. Behind closed doors, alliances may be shifting, deals may be breaking, and strategies may be evolving faster than the public can keep up with. And the truth, the real, unvarnished truth, becomes a currency more valuable than gold, guarded fiercely by those who know it, and desperately sought after by those who don't. You see, it's not just the possibility of war that shakes people to their core. It's the uncertainty, the feeling of being kept in the dark while events unfold that could alter your future in ways you cannot control. In towns and cities along the border, this uncertainty is not abstract, it's a living, breathing fear. Farmers tend to their fields while glancing over their shoulders. Parents send their children to school, wondering if those classrooms will remain open for long. Shopkeepers count their day's earnings, knowing that in times of conflict, business can vanish overnight. And somewhere in the distance, a soldier stands watch, aware that the calm of the night could be shattered at any moment. So, when we hear of intercepted messages, canceled diplomatic meetings, and unusual troop deployments, we must understand these are not coincidences. They are signals. They are pieces of a puzzle that, when assembled, may reveal a picture far more dangerous than anyone wants to imagine. And whether we are ready or not, the truth behind them will come. It always does. And when it arrives, it will demand a response, not just from governments, but from all of us who will live with the consequences. India and Pakistan share more than a line drawn on a map. They share a long, complicated history carved out of struggle, sacrifice, and scars that never fully healed. That border is not just a boundary, it is a living reminder of past conflicts, lost lives, and promises of peace that too often faded into the noise of politics. For decades, this fragile peace has survived in a delicate balance, held together by uneasy truces, tense negotiations, and moments of reluctant cooperation. Yet, like glass under pressure, it can crack with the slightest force. And in this fragile reality, there are those both inside and outside the region who benefit from instability. You see, tension is not always accidental. Sometimes it is engineered. Political agendas can thrive in chaos because chaos distracts. Economic interests can flourish in uncertainty because uncertainty allows control. Ideologies can gain momentum in fear because fear unites people under banners they might otherwise reject. Somewhere behind the closed doors of high offices and the glow of computer screens, There are individuals and groups who understand this better than anyone, and they know how to use it. They know that instability is not just a result of conflict. It can be a carefully crafted tool, and so narratives are pushed, stories, half-truths, distortions, and outright fabrications are fed into the bloodstream of media and social networks, each one designed to inflame emotions, to make reason give way to outrage, to make neighbors see each other not as human beings, but as threats. It is easy to believe that wars start with the first shot fired, but in reality they often start with words that are repeated, amplified, and weaponized until they take on a life of their own. On both sides of the border, the everyday person rarely wants conflict. A farmer in Punjab, whether in India or Pakistan, wants to wake up to tend his land, not to hear the distant thud of artillery. A mother in Karachi or Amritsar wants to see her children's faces filled with the light of education, not the shadows of fear. A shopkeeper in Lahore or Delhi hopes to close his day with the sound of customers chatting, not the silence of shuttered markets. But these human desires, as universal as they are, often get buried beneath the ambitions of those who play a much larger, much more dangerous game. This is why peace feels so fragile here, because it is constantly under siege, not just from the threat of bombs or bullets, but from the quieter, more insidious attack of misinformation and propaganda. The weapons may be invisible, but their effects are devastating. They create suspicion where there was trust, resentment where there was tolerance, and division where there was unity. And once those seeds are planted, it takes extraordinary courage to pull them out by the roots. Right now, that courage is needed more than ever. For if we allow this cycle to continue unchecked, if we allow words and whispers to grow into action, then history will not just repeat itself, it will escalate. And this time the cost could be far greater than we can bear. Insiders claim that somewhere in the vaults of a high-security government building or buried deep in encrypted servers lies a classified dossier, one that holds more weight than any public speech, more danger than any open threat. It is said to contain evidence, strategies, and perhaps even contingency plans that, if revealed, could change the course of the India-Pakistan relationship overnight. The very existence of such a file is enough to make people uneasy, but what's inside it? That is the question stirring anxiety in diplomatic circles, military command rooms, and even the quiet streets of border towns. A document like this is never just words on paper. It's power. It's the kind of knowledge that can topple governments, collapse negotiations, and force nations into corners from which there is no easy escape. If the claims are true, this dossier may hold details of secret operations, intelligence reports on troop movements, or even evidence of provocations that have gone unspoken in public. And the danger lies not only in the content itself, but in how that content is used. In the wrong hands, truth can be just as destructive as lies. Think about it. Every line, every paragraph, every name inside that document could trigger a chain reaction. A single revelation could make one side feel justified in retaliation. Another could undermine years of back-channel diplomacy. Even the suggestion of what it contains is enough to stir mistrust, which spreads faster than any official statement can contain. Leaders know this, and that's why they guard such secrets with unyielding force. But secrets, as history shows us, have a habit of slipping out, sometimes by accident, sometimes by design. For the ordinary person, the stakes are deeply personal. Families on both sides of the border share similar dreams, dreams of safety, stability, and a future where the next generation doesn't inherit a legacy of hostility. A father in Srinagar hopes his son will grow up in peace, not in the shadow of conflict. A grandmother in Lahore longs to tell her grandchildren stories of progress, not warnings about sirens and curfews. Yet these lives, so far removed from the conference tables and intelligence briefings, can be turned upside down in an instant if that dossier is leaked and the revelations ignite tensions into open confrontation. The weight of such a revelation is immense because it doesn't just affect the present, it reshapes the past and the future. It forces both nations to look into a mirror they may not want to face. And once the truth comes into the light, there is no turning back. The choices become harder, the rhetoric sharper, and the paths to reconciliation fewer. That is why, even as officials deny or deflect, the air feels charged. Something is being withheld, something too big to dismiss. The question is no longer whether the secret exists, it's when and how the world will come to know it. And when that moment arrives, it will not be a quiet revelation. It will be a thunderclap that echoes across the subcontinent. As the tension simmers, the world's gaze is locked on South Asia, watching every move, every word, every hesitation. From Washington to Beijing, from London to Moscow, the unfolding situation between India and Pakistan is being analyzed in war rooms, debated in parliament halls, and tracked on intelligence dashboards. No major power can afford to ignore it, because a spark here would not stay confined. It would send ripples, even shockwaves, across continents. The balance of alliances could shift, trade routes could be disrupted, and security pacts could be tested in ways they haven't been in decades. In this climate, global powers are calculating their positions, like chess masters studying the board. Some are reaching out to offer mediation, not out of pure goodwill, but to protect their own interests. Others are choosing silence, quietly preparing for the possibility that they may have to take sides if the worst happens. The very air in diplomatic corridors feels charged, as though everyone is bracing for news they hope never comes but know may be inevitable. And yet, for all the talk of geopolitics and strategy, the heart of the matter lies not in conference rooms, but in the homes of ordinary people. Wars are not fought by leaders alone. They are fought by soldiers sent to the front lines, by families who must flee their homes, by communities that see their livelihoods vanish overnight. The human cost of conflict is rarely counted in press releases. It is felt in the empty chair at the dinner table, in the silence of a father who once laughed easily, in the eyes of a child who grows up far too soon. The tragedy is that those who decide to go to war rarely bear the brunt of it. Leaders may lose political capital, yes, but the people lose lives, homes, futures, and still, history repeats, because fear, pride, and ambition can be more intoxicating than reason. This is why the silence from both sides of the border right now feels so unsettling. It's the kind of silence that often precedes decisive, irreversible action. In the meantime, the media is chasing every fragment of information, piecing together stories from leaks, satellite images, and whispered tips from anonymous sources. The headlines grow sharper, the speculation bolder. Every photograph of a military convoy, every canceled public appearance by a senior official, is dissected and discussed as if the answer to the looming question, war or peace, can be found in a single image. But the truth is far more complex and far more dangerous than any single headline can convey. What we are witnessing is a crossroads moment. One path leads to dialogue, compromise, and perhaps even the first steps toward genuine reconciliation. The other leads to escalation, retaliation, and a cycle of violence that could take years, perhaps decades, to repair. Which path will be taken is not yet certain, but time is running out, and with every passing day, the cost of choosing wrong grows heavier. The clock is ticking, and with each passing hour, the so-called secret edges closer to exposure. In the corridors of power, the tension is palpable. Leaders know that the moment truth escapes its confinement, it will not politely knock on the door of history. It will burst through it, altering the narrative in ways no one can fully predict, and that moment will demand decisions, fast and final. But here lies the real question. Will we allow history to once again follow its old destructive script? Or will we, for once, dare to write a different ending? The choice is not just for politicians, generals, or diplomats. It belongs to the people as well. In the past, wars have been waged in the name of national pride, territorial disputes, or political necessity. Yet the ones who carry the heaviest burden are rarely those who sign the orders. It is the young soldier standing in the cold. It is the child clutching their mother's hand in a crowded train station. It is the shopkeeper watching decades of hard work vanish overnight. If there is one lesson history offers us again and again, it is this. Once the first shot is fired, no one controls how the war will end. And so in this moment before the storm, there is still a chance, a narrow one, to choose a different course. Dialogue may be slower than missiles, but it builds bridges that last longer than any ceasefire. Diplomacy may seem weak to some, but it has saved more lives than the most decisive battlefield victories. Choosing peace does not mean surrendering strength. It means using strength to protect, not to destroy. But peace is not born in the conference halls alone. It begins in the hearts of people who refuse to be manipulated by propaganda, who resist the temptation to see the other side as less than human. The truth, when it emerges, will be powerful. It will expose what has been hidden, challenge what has been believed, and force both nations to confront uncomfortable realities. And while it may be tempting for some to use it as a weapon, its greatest value will be as a mirror showing us not just what our leaders have done, but what we as societies are willing to accept. That reflection will be hard to face, but it will also be an opportunity, a rare chance to demand better from those who speak for us, and to refuse to be silent when the path they choose leads to devastation. The world is indeed standing at a crossroads, and the decision made in the coming days or weeks will echo for generations. When the truth comes, it will not just close one chapter, it will begin another. Whether that chapter is written in the ink of peace or in the blood of conflict will depend on whether we have the courage to act before it is too late. Because in the end, the most powerful weapon we will ever wield is not the sword, not the missile, but the truth and what we choose to do with it.